Welcome to the Hotel News Now podcast. Today we have the second in a two-part series focusing on mergers and acquisitions activity across hotel management companies. We're joined in this episode by Steve Van, founder of Prism Hotels and Resorts, who gives an inside look into what it was like to be acquired by Aimbridge Hospitality in late 2021 and how it was an emotionally difficult decision to hand off the company he'd built from the ground up. Hi, everybody. Sean McCracken, news editor for Hotel News Now, here with Steve Van, founder of Prism Hotels and Resorts, former president and CEO of that company before it was bought a few years ago now by Aimbridge Hospitality. Steve, obviously a wave of hotel management M&A this week. As somebody who went through one of those types of deals a few years ago now, what's it like? What's it like having your company kind of become part of a bigger concern?
Well, there's great parts to it, and then there are parts that are not so great. I mean, the great part is, uh, it was a nice capital event for me and the senior people in the company. You rarely can monetize a service business like a hotel management company with 30-day contracts. We're fortunate and able to do that, and I shared 30% of what we got with the senior management. So it was a nice financial event for everybody. However, it was emotionally very difficult because we had a very, very close and, if I may say, successful culture of providing the best service we could to owners and happy employees. And, part of that was it was a homegrown company that I took 38 years to do, but with a really talented leadership team, great employees, and a one big family. So it was like getting a
Yeah,
divorce in your middle age or later.
yeah,
Uh, so that was hard, but it was interesting going into Ambridge and seeing that what a giant company does. Learned a lot doing that, but there was good and the bad. And I really miss it. I think we all miss the big family we had, but
yeah.
these days of mergers and acquisitions, a lot of companies are going through that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you bring up it being a capital event. I think very rarely in a person's life. I mean, you were mentioning before this call started, it was nearly 4 decades for you at
Yeah.
Prism. I mean, how often do you get a numerical value signed to the work you've done over a career?
Yeah, well, it's rare. Fortunately, all along I was developing and buying and selling hotels. You know,
Yeah.
s- I lost a lot of money, but I made more. I was net ahead. So that's really was just whatever I was able to accumulate. That was the source of it. But this is something you really don't ever plan on
Mhm.
in a service business.
Yeah.
But it's, as you pointed out, and you're hosting that article on it. It's happening more frequently these days.
Yeah, and you mentioned kind of the emotional side of it. I imagine I know from firsthand, like walking through your hotels with you in the past, you took a great amount of pride in the
Yeah.
work you guys were doing at Prism. I'm sure it was no small thing to kind of not as I mean, you didn't immediately walk away from it, but hand over the keys to the car to
Right.
somebody else.
Yeah, it really was, and I didn't realize how meaningful it was till after we left because so many employees came up and said, "Oh, that was the best time of our life. It helped our family." And I must brag, which is unlike me, but I would say this: employee satisfaction, the national score 70%. Marriott gives a bonus at 80. Company wide, 60 hotels, we were 94%. And that's really, you can say this and that about finances or award for best man, blah, blah, blah. But that was what was most meaningful to me and sort of a legacy, if you will,
Yeah.
that I sort of uh, look back on, think, well, good. That was the way I did some good in the world. And our
Yeah.
team did. So, yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, looking at this a little more broadly, as we mentioned, there's about a handful of deals that went through the course of the week, and it seems like whenever we get news of hotel management companies merging, acquiring each other, selling, partnering, whatever they end up doing, which we've seen a little bit of everything. It seems like this
Yeah.
week, it always seems like it comes in bunches. Um, any reason for that from your perspective? What's the logic behind why these all happen at once?
It's hard to pinpoint that. I think other people are doing it, and it's a way to make more money for yourself. So it's sort of catching on.
Mhm.
So in terms of why it happens in bunches, I don't know. My general observation out of it is it's. I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding on the part of Wall Street. Everybody gets to blame them, but they make a lot of money on what a third party management company is as opposed to other kinds of business or hotel business. Look, if you're selling shoes, there are 300 million customers in America, give or take.
Yeah.
If you're selling third party hotel management contracts, there are probably about 20,000 customers that don't already manage their own hotels. That's a really, really small group.
Yeah.
And unlike selling, widgets to people or leotards or whatever, which you can manufacture and standardize, you're really selling an intimate personal relationship. This is my
Mhm.
opinion. Is what's
Yeah.
so, and that intimate personal relationship hopefully is going to be backed up by great service. But it's hard to do once you get above a certain scale. You
Yeah.
need to be at least, you need to have, I'd say, at least 20 hotels to be able to afford the overhead, to have all the services you need, the IT stuff, the blah, blah, blah. But if you get over maybe 150, I don't know what the number is, it gets more and more difficult to have a personal, intimate relationship with an owner. So
Yeah.
it's that sweet spot. But those are the companies, the ones, if you're between 30 and 70 hotels these days, you're targeted for acquisition by a lot of people. It's just hard to
Mhm.
translate that into, you know, 400 hotels or 500 hotels.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's been the push and pull that the industry has faced since Aimbridge bought Interstate, which seems to
Yeah,
be really kind of the inciting incident of all of
right,
this, with
right.
Aimbridge coming in and promising our scale will deliver better results.
Yeah,
But then the sales pitch every smaller operator made after that is we can deliver better communication, better, more
right,
focused results to specific owners. I mean,
right.
how do you find the balance there?
And it is really, really hard. You know, I I don't know that no one yet has figured out how to do that perfectly. I mean,
Yeah.
period. Uh, Now, again, the great thing about owning your own management company with a great team is you can just focus everything on the owner, and then you never get fired. We never get fired.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you're owned by an investment firm or somebody else looking for an annual return, it's the same thing in the on the Wall Street firms. You have to answer to other masters. A lot of times we would help our owners out during COVID. We didn't take fees a lot, and we helped
Mhm.
them. So it's different. But I would say what you can do, the number one thing I think you can do, no matter how big you get, is to continue to focus on the owner. And that, even though I'm not an employee of Ambridge anymore, not associated with them in that regard, they're taking some really good steps, I think. I mean, they're bringing it.
Mhm.
One of the companies known for service to owners is Marriott.
Yeah.
And they brought in, Steve Joyce and Craig Smith. They brought in these great Marriott executives. I know all of them. Eric, their new business guy, to import the aspects of that culture they can into a big company. So more power to them. I
Mhm.
hope they succeed in that. But it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of talk. Craig Smith's in his, 6 months on the job, has talked a lot about kind of flattening the corporate structure to
Yeah,
get
exactly.
owners closer to the ground.
Yeah, and I admire the job he's doing there that I've heard about from other people.
Mhm. So I guess the question I have for you is, you're somebody who, you don't run a management company anymore, but you do like to kind of stay tuned in. As you see more of these types of deals, more of the smaller operators kind of joining together, do you think that we're on a road to a less fragmented hotel industry? Are we going to see a handful of big operators like the Aimbridges of the world, or are people going to settle in kind of a sweet spot at some point?
You know, I think I think it'll be more of the same. That is, these big consolidations will, make the annual profits probably bigger of the consolidators, but they'll also produce some fallout of owners who just don't want a big company. So
Hmm.
that provides opportunities for smaller companies. So
Yeah.
I think both trends will continue. Uh, I think there's nothing to slow down the consolidation thing.
Hmm.
But I also think there's just lots of opportunity out there. Hey, start your own management company. It takes a Gmail account.
Yeah.
Um, and but people that are so more and more there's a lot of opportunity out there for smaller companies to go after owners who don't want the big scale.
Hmm.
And so I don't think I don't think there's going to be it's not going to be like the automobile industry where we only got
Hmm.
7 global players, because again it's such a relationship driven business.
Yeah. Do you see value in kind of specializing as a manager? Because obviously at Prism, you guys, specialized in, you did receivership, you did kind of unique assets, you worked with
Yeah,
a certain type of owner. I
yeah.
mean, is there still a space for that type of manager?
Definitely, because it gives you a competitive advantage. But we ended up morphing into specializing in full service hotels, which is great. We got Hyatt Operator of the Year and, Hilton Developer of the Year, blah, blah, blah. And that helped us. Anytime you can specialize, whether it's in the smaller hotels, bigger hotels, conference center hotels. But our specialty that really propelled us into well, for us, for the big leagues, was doing, receiverships and defaulted hotels for lenders. Although
Hmm.
we then morphed into more traditional stuff, but definitely because, you know, if you can be the best manager in America for Hampton Inns, you're going to make a lot of money. If you try
Yeah.
to be the best manager in America for 30 different brands, you get confused. I mean, so I think specialization really helps. Uh,
Hmm.
but it's sort of the opposite side of the coin on all the benefits of scale that a company like Aimbridge or Highgate or Pyramid, those big ones, potentially have. I'm not saying they take advantage of it yet, but
Hmm.
I think there just got to be, whether it's purchasing or being able to afford the most effective artificial intelligence system for
Yeah.
revenue management. I mean, those are some big costs that only big companies can afford.
Yeah, the kind of tech platform you can
Yeah,
do at a 25 hotel portfolio is, I
yeah,
would say, somewhat limited, right?
yeah. It is. I mean, you can get these bolt-on systems, but you're never going to have your own. That what most impressed me when I first got to Ambridge was how they were able to afford some of these very expensive IT solutions and
Hmm.
customize them. And that was, like you said, you merge Ambridge with Interstate, you got tons of bucks to spend on infrastructure.
Hmm. For sure. So you mentioned right off the bat, kind of, I mean, taking pride in the culture that you guys created at Prism. Um, I wonder from your perspective, what's the right way to kind of maintain a culture at a management company? I mean, it's a people business, right? So how do you
Right.
maintain that when you're kind of plugging into a new platform and you're answering to new people, frankly?
Well, let me give you the best example of maintaining something I've ever heard of, and I've seen it. Bill Marriott
Mhm.
flying in his private jet to the, Marriott Fort Lauderdale, go into the kitchen and shake the hand of everyone in the kitchen. This is Bill
Mhm.
Marriott
Yeah.
when he was in his 70s. All right.
Yeah.
And that's because so the culture is Bill Marriott. It's his
Yeah.
spirit, his soul. So if you've got a company, we've had Prism for 38 years. The way to maintain the culture is just to live it and be it and continue to be yourself. We didn't have any big shots at Prism because I was never a big shot. Neither was my wife. Uh, Maintain your culture, but that's what's so important. I think, and again, a shout out to Craig Smith. This guy's living on the road. I mean, he's
Yeah.
going out to all these hotels. He didn't just go to the big hotels, the big shop this, and meet with the executive chef. He goes and meets with employees. So I think it's hey, surprise. The name of the business is hospitality, which means
Yeah.
friendliness. And you really have to live. So the only way to do it is to live it, just like Herb Kelleher went. And, on Thanksgiving he was at Love Field unloading bags.
Hmm.
So it's but that's you can't. Culture is something you just can't mechanize, or it's hard to scale up a culture fast. And these big mergers, man, it's so difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got, okay, give me 5 or 10 years, and we're going to integrate these two big companies together. But
Hmm.
usually you got 6 months, then your investors saying, "Where's the money?"
Yeah. So, I think maybe my favorite Steve Van quote I ever got in my years of doing this was when you said, you like working with owners who just leave you alone and let you do
Yes.
what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that quote because A, just wanted to say it out loud because I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. But B, I want to use that quote to segue into the question of, obviously, no matter how hands off your owners are, when a Prism gets bought by an Aimbridge or a Sightline gets bought by a PM hotel group, anything, you have to communicate that to your owners. So I'm just curious, how does that process go in your mind? What's the right way and wrong way to handle that?
Right. Well, let me first go back to that. The reason by and large our owners just left us alone was because they knew that the
Hmm.
entire company focus, one point we had 10,000 employees. From me on down, every Monday we talk about it, most satisfied owner. That was the
Hmm.
spirit point of Prism's
Yes.
culture. They knew we were doing, so they're like, well, we don't want to interfere with that because we really were
Hmm.
turning in great numbers, particularly during
Yeah.
COVID. We doubled the size of our company. So that is again an intimate relationship business. They kept their hands off. That's blah blah blah. Now,
Yeah.
in terms of communicate, those were hard conversations when I went to see our owners and said, "Hey, you know, we're going to be acquired by Aimbridge.
Hmm.
I'm no longer going to be CEO." And I said, "But there are lots of advantages of scale. Our people are going to stay involved," which they did. We had like 2 years. You have to keep prison employees for 2 years. So, some of them, that was okay. Others, and here, number one thing, you got to hear it from the CEO personally.
Yeah.
You let an owner hear from, somebody, I mean, God bless you guys at Hotel News Now. Let him hear that his
Yeah. They don't want to
manager
hear it from us.
is
Yeah.
wrong, or
Yeah.
by anybody, or somebody's going to. So it's got to be preemptive, and it got to be personal, and got to be sincere. And we lost some owners because they said, "Hey, we love the team, we love the size of your company, but we're going to go look for a smaller company." And
Hmm.
you can't blame them.
Yeah.
Others were happy. So, but I think again, it's a delicate process, and I think you're always going to lose some in the. And again, if it's an intimate personal relationship and you're getting divorced and married to somebody else, somebody's not going to be happy with that.
Yeah.
So, and it gets harder the bigger. I don't know how they did that interstate Ambridge merger back when they did. Now,
Hmm.
Dave Johnson, if anybody can do it, Dave is. Dave is a genius and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But it's difficult. It's very difficult. And if it's merging, okay, we're going to merge two car companies or two computer chip stuff. Okay, make sure they're compatible, and you're
Hmm.
both using centimeters instead of inches or whatever the hell you do.
Yeah.
This is like, ooh, too intimate, but it's very difficult, and you look at company like look at Davidson, how many years they had such a great culture, relationship. I knew everybody there. I admired them as a competitor. Uh, and now I don't know. You mentioned somebody else bought them, but the owners that Davidson management for need an answer because they chose Davidson because of the culture of Davidson.
Yeah.
They're going to want to know that doesn't change. So pretty
That's
tricky
an
out there.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'll just get your perspective on this because that among the deals we've seen this week, that one's kind of unique in that it's not a merger or acquisition
Yeah,
between two
yeah.
management platforms. It's, kind of private equity backing behind a single platform. If you were, you're a private investor now, if you were the person who gathered all the cash and bought Davidson Hospitality, I mean, what would you do if in that circumstance? Would you say keep everything as is, or would you be tempted to say, we want some changes here?
Not knowing the intimate details of how they work, but by reputation, by the individuals I've known there, I get everybody together in a room and say, "You guys and gals are fantastic.
Yeah.
Let me know how I can help and get out of your way."
Hmm.
Now, that's not to say you can't always improve and do this and do that. Uh, But what usually happens in these, you borrow, don't you borrow $100 million to buy a company, or you buy a billion. Now you get interest payments. Now you need to make more money.
Yeah.
I guess we better start cutting people. I mean, that's always, in my view, the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
So I would just first I'd try and be humble about it and learn how they did such a great job. But it's just I love the business.
Mhm.
Nothing. Thank God it got me out of being a trial lawyer and I got into the hotel business. But it's exciting. It's difficult, but it's just does not to me seem to be as amenable to these massive consolidations as a lot of other businesses do.
Yeah.
Because it's not as funny. We're talking about personalities and relationships, and but I'm enjoying watching it and reading about it and listening to it from your magazine.
So
With
let me
no,
ask let me ask you real quick. It's asked about kind of the top of the funnel of this. As somebody who went through this, you got bought by another company. You're seeing other companies going through that this week or recently. What advice would you give to those hotel executives who are going through that right now?
you mean here with a hotel management company or being in that
Yeah.
company, Bubba? Boy, that is tough. I want to make sure you get to know as soon as you can the new buyer.
Yeah.
Um, it's and it usually obviously starts with the CEO and a few key people. But I would just try and continue to show my value to the company, whatever I'm
Hmm.
doing. If I'm doing sales and marketing, do that better. New business, do that better. Accounting, do that better. Uh, but that's a really tough one right there.
Hmm.
And you always need to keep your resume handy, just
There
in
you go.
case. Uh, but one thing I found, talent in the hotel business is sought after.
Hmm.
I mean, if you're good at what you, that's why all the top Prism team uh, was never but nobody ever got terminated. At Aimbridge, they were given more and more authority. I
Hmm.
mean, Allison Handy, who was our partner in charge of sales and marketing, she's up at the stratosphere now with them with hundreds of hotels.
Hmm.
Um, and other people have gotten hired away by other management companies, but it's really uh, that is a tough. That's tough, and it
Yeah.
was tough for me because I never intended to really sell Prism. I was like, you
Yeah.
know, well, let's keep this going. So, but the main thing you can do in the business, I think, two things. One, just do a great job, hone your skills, but also keep your network up. You know,
Hmm.
keep informed of what's going on. Read the publications. Go to conferences and make sure that you know other people than the people in your company.
Yeah.
Just
It's a
for
people
survival.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. I think that's all I had for you, Steve. Is there
Hey,
anything you wanted to talk about that we haven't?
no, I've enjoyed this, Sean. Thanks for including me in.
Oh,
And
I enjoy the opportunity to talk to you whenever I get the
yeah,
chance.
well, let's talk again before too long.
Will do. Will do.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Isaac Colazo, Vice President of Analytics at STR.
Hi, and I'm Jan Freitag, National Director for Hospitality Analytics for the CoStar Group. Tune in to our new show, Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast.
It's a podcast on the global hotel industry, its current trends, what we're thinking about, and where the industry's going.
And we like to have fun with the data too. Find us on hotelnewsnow.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe today.
This episode of the Hotel News Now podcast was recorded on November 6, 2024, and edited by me, Sean McCracken. Thanks for listening, and visit hotelnewsnow.com for the latest news every day.